Previously, on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
To wrap things up here, you get to pick the next Mr. Men book in the Doctor Who series.
I would pick the first Doctor. Just to go back a bit.
Yeah, gonna go all the way back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. So that will be our next episode then.
And now, our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
Awesome. I'm here. All right.
This is Matt in Minnesota.
And this is Elijah in Minnesota.
Hi, Elijah.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. How long have you been a Doctor Who fan?
I have been a Doctor Who fan for about 10 years now. I got into the show around the Series 7 Part B, so that would have been Matt Smith and Jenna Coleman, that kind of period with the show, and then just worked my way through up until the 50th anniversary, and I was hooked ever since.
Very nice. Have you gone back and watched much of the older stuff?
Oh, yes.
Very good.
I collect the Blu-ray box sets as they come out, and I've seen quite a few of the stories.
Wow, nice. You're pretty dedicated then. Do you have a favorite Doctor or Doctor Who era? I mean, I know that Smith was your first Doctor, and oftentimes that's kind of a special one, but do you have another Doctor that you like even more?
It's kind of a tie. For the classic series, it has to be Hartnell.
Ooh.
I was quite overjoyed when I got picked to do this book, and then Peter Capaldi would have to be up there as well.
Yeah, I'm also a big Peter Capaldi fan.
Nice.
So, we're going to be reading Doctor First here, which is a series of books originated by Roger Hargreaves. Did you read any Mr. Men or Little Miss books growing up?
I actually didn't, but there was a TV show version that aired on Cartoon Network growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very familiar with the Mr. Men series in that respect.
Well, very good. Kind of moving forward here, just touching on some current Doctor Who news. What did you think about the most recent special, The Power of the Doctor, where we said goodbye to Jodie?
I thought it was an amazing episode, great farewell for Jodie, but also celebrating the show itself with its 59 years of history at that point. You had old faces returning, Sophie Aldred and Janet Fielding, along with other companions in the support group, which I thought was really great. It was a nice way of encapsulating Jodie's era and sending it off into the brand new unknown era of David Tennant.
Yeah, and the return of Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa as well. As kind of a more casual fan of the show, I'm very curious to kind of see what the next year or two of the show is going to be like. I guess, are you more excited about David returning or about Ncuti Gatwa taking the role?
Actually, both, to be honest. I think it's an interesting concept of bringing back David to play the Doctor again, but play it as a Doctor who has all these previous memories compared to his 10th incarnation. But I'm also excited to see what Ncuti does with the role, because I've loved what he did with Sex Education, and just going on that, I think he's going to bring an interesting twist to the Doctor.
Yeah, and it's going to be a refreshing new perspective, not only because he's younger and new to the role, but also because he's the first non-white Doctor, which will be kind of fun.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to our show and tell here. You mentioned that you've been a fan for about 10 years. Is there any particular piece of merchandise that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so for my show and tell, I picked a book that I picked up in the dealer's room at the big Doctor Who convention in LA called Gallifrey 1.
Ooh.
It's a copy of Doctor Who and the Invasion from Space. It's a book that was published in 1966. And it's a very rare book to get a hold of, and I found it in the dealer's room for about $5.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite pieces of Who merch, featuring William Hartnell as the Doctor.
Well, very nice. Well, that will do well with our reading of Doctor First here.
Yep, absolutely.
I guess the thing I'll share, we were just talking about the return of David Tennant and all that. And now that we're talking about it, I remembered I had a dream 2 nights ago where I was looking at like new photos of David Tennant as the Doctor. And I was excited about that in the dream. I don't remember anything else going on in there, but I guess it is in the background running in my mind.
Nice.
Well, anyway, shall we get on to Doctor First by Adam Hargreaves?
Let's do it.
Wonderful. All right. So Doctor First, of course, following the first Doctor here. And the story begins with the Doctor and Susan in the TARDIS. And Susan is very bright and bubbly, as she often is. And of course, the first Doctor is not in a good mood. Your thoughts on the beginning of the story and establishing right away that the Doctor's kind of cranky?
I think it's kind of fun because with the Mr. Men series, they're based upon an emotion. And I guess you could say the first Doctor can be grumpy at times. I wouldn't say that to be his, just because he's an older incarnation of the Doctor playing a younger incarnation. But I guess it kind of fits having him as the grumpy Mr. Men character.
Yeah, they definitely played that up to the fullest. I think he's, out of the different incarnations of the Doctor, I suppose my perception of him is he's often kind of stodgy and cranky and formal.
Right.
And so they really leaned into that in this story.
Yes.
So the TARDIS starts making some clonking noises, and the Doctor decides they have to land somewhere to fix it. And where do they land, Elijah?
Oh, of course. It has to be everyone's favorite planet, Earth.
Yes, of course. Which the Doctor describes as a small, ugly planet populated by particularly irritating people. Which, he's not necessarily wrong. But I guess I was surprised. What do you think about the revelation that the Doctor doesn't like Earth?
Yeah, see, I feel like that characteristic would fit more with the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way he kind of explains humans as being apes and just his whole view of Earth.
Right, yeah. The story's set before the Doctor's first episode on TV, and but does this contradict the events of telenovelas Frayed and Time and Relative?
Sort of, yeah.
And here we are, we have the Doctor and Susan landing in London. Of course, always London. What a dump.
Right.
So Susan kind of leaves the Doctor alone. He starts fixing the TARDIS, which puts him in a better mood. But then when he's done, he realizes that he can't find Susan. And of course, Susan has wandered off into London to explore.
Yep.
So the Doctor leaves to go and find her, and he encounters some people that are strangely dressed. And who are these people?
They are people dressed in hippie clothes, or I would just say fun clothes, but the stereotypical hippie dress.
Yes, the classic kind of hippie thing, which of course, if we're playing up the cranky old man Doctor kind of vibe here, of course he hates hippies.
Of course.
All right, so he doesn't like hippies, he doesn't like groovy, but he has to find Susan, so he goes on to find her.
Yeah.
Is the cap Susan wearing Susan's or Dodo's? Which, by the way, I had really kind of forgotten, like, what is the relationship between the Doctor and Susan? I know she calls him grandfather, but is she actually his granddaughter? I was always been a little confused about this.
As far as we are aware, yes, it is his granddaughter, but it's Doctor Who. There's still many unknowns that we're not aware of.
Yeah, I guess I'm just surprised that we've never gone back and found that story, or the Doctor is like, he used to be married to who, and maybe she's some cool Time Lord lady and whatever. There's ripe opportunity for a story there, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, well, anyway, so he goes into a dark alleyway, and there's something scary lurking in the shadows. He creeps into the alley, and what does he find there?
A cat.
Yes. I actually noted that this panel with the cat was one of my favorite pages of the entire story, just because up to this point the Doctor had been very cranky and been kind of like serious and looking for Susan, and then we have like the most adorable little cat drawing.
Right. So cute.
Yes. And now, is it a cyber cat, or does it just have antennas on it because it's next to a TV in an alley?
Because you would think the antennas would be a little bit further down on the TV, but it kind of makes it look like it's almost like a cyber cat.
I hope it's not a cyber cat.
Right?
I'd be sad for the cat. The Doctor referring to himself as a Time Lord, but the first Doctor never said those things during his original run.
Yeah.
All right, so he soldiers on and keeps looking for Susan, troubled by all of the bright colors and stuff, but then he finds something else that's disturbing. Who does he run into next?
The Cybermen.
Ooh, yes, the Cybermen, and kind of sporting a more of an old school look with the crying tears kind of appearance. Although, which version of Cybermen are these exactly?
They look closely to me, probably the Wheel in Space Cybermen.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know for sure, though. Does this mean the Doctor forgets about the Cybermen between this story and the 10th Planet? This is a different era. This is pre his first episode, so maybe, they're from a completely different thing that we've never seen before.
Right.
And of course, they're in London. I do like the next couple panels. The Cybermen are sightseeing, although they're not sightseeing, but they're taking pictures of the changing of the guard, and we have a very happy-looking Cyberman taking a photo of a British guard. We have a Cyberman buying a Union Jack mug. But, of course, what are the Cybermen really there to do?
They are there to invade and cause havoc.
Yes, indeed. Have you ever visited the UK, Elijah?
I have.
Nice.
3 times now.
Did you do any Doctor Who related things while you were there?
Yeah, I went to Cardiff and visited a bunch of filming locations, and then in London visited a bunch of other filming locations, such as Westminster Bridge, the London Eye, some of those famous locations.
Sounds very similar to a trip I took with Matt about 15 years ago.
Nice.
Very good. Okay, so he starts getting chased by the Cybermen, and they're shooting him with all kinds of different colorful lasers. And, I guess the color really stood out to me because it's William Hartnell. I'm used to seeing all of his footage in black and white. I'm not sure if the Hartnell era would have splurged for color.
Right. And at the time, I don't think color TV was a possibility during his run. I know if, depending on the budget and whatnot, they could have. I think it would have been amazing to see the Hartnell era in color.
Yeah.
Especially in the 60s, the stylization choices of outfits and set dressings and all the bright colors, I think it would have worked very well.
Yeah, I agree. The garish colors of the 60s really stood out on TV. But color TVs didn't start to become more common until the late 60s.
Right.
Okay, so he runs away from the Cybermen, and as luck would have it, he does run into Susan. And that brings us to our dramatic reading, which is performed by Bill Evenson of the Frankenstein Minute podcast. And he has our dramatic reading here of the next 2 pages. Bill.
The Doctor had to find Susan. And as luck would have it, he found her in the next street. She was listening to some music on a radio, pop music. The Doctor would not have described pop music as music. He would have described it as noise. The Doctor frowned, but it gave him an idea. He made some quick adjustments to the radio.
Hear the new tunes.
The radio waves drifted down the street, and the effect on the Cybermen was extraordinary. They were thrown into confusion. The wires crossed in their mechanical brains. Their legs jerked and their arms whirled. They did not know whether to take over the world or to dance. It was all too much for them. They turned tail and fled for their spaceship.
Thanks, Bill. That was thrilling.
Thanks a lot.
So the Doctor finds Susan and is able to use the radio to kind of throw the Cybermen off. I really thought this was a very Hartnell appropriate solution to the problem.
Right.
I like that the first Doctor often solved things by tinkering with tech that seemed modern and new and the cutting edge in the 60s. It maybe seems a little old-fashioned to us now, but, playing around with radio frequencies seems very like, ooh, modern 60s technology.
Totally fits in with the time period. I agree.
Yep. So after throwing the Cybermen off guard, him and Susan return back to the TARDIS. And Susan says that you're smiling. And the Doctor says Time Lords don't smile. And so on the very last page there, what does the Doctor end with?
He frowned.
Yes. So, and that kind of returns to what you're saying earlier about these Mr. Men books are often kind of about capturing an emotion or something. And in this case, maybe it's okay to sometimes be a little grumpy. All right. Well, that radio solution, what do you think Susan was listening to on that radio?
Well, it had to be John Smith and the Common Men, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure that was it. The show couldn't have gotten the rights to Beatles music or anything, I suppose, could they? Although, was there Beatles on Doctor Who once?
There was. In a William Hartnell story called The Chase, there was Beatles playing Ticket to Ride.
Wow, that's pretty cool, but I'm sure that's caused rights issues.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right, well, we've gotten to the end of the book here. Elijah, our first Doctor romp in London against the Cybermen. How would you rate the book out of 10?
I would rate this story a 10 out of 10.
Oh.
I think it's a fun little book. Can't take it too seriously. It's just a lot of fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do enjoy the solution to the problem and how they kind of captured Hartnell's grumpiness. I do wish that they had given Susan a little bit more to do, or that maybe we had seen Susan's teachers or something like that. But I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think it was good. Maybe not my favorite of the Mr. Men series, but a fun little outing.
Nice.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's move on to listener feedback here.
Okay, awesome.
We've got a couple emails, one from Shaggy Matthews and one from Jason Tucker. Shaggy says, sorry for the late feedback. Loved the new episode covering Dr. Eighth.
Cool.
The Eighth Doctor is my favorite Doctor, so it was a joy to see him face the Sea Devils before any of the other new series Doctors got their chance. Wonderful coverage on the podcast as always, and enjoyed Elliot's fresh perspective. Shaggy goes on to say that he's looking forward to the next episode featuring Dr. First, and also I should mention as a listener, it's kind of frustrating how these other two substitute hosts, I think their names are Chris and Matt, keep interrupting the flow of your coverage of the Doctor Who Mr. Men books. Maybe they are responsible for the time scoop. Ooh, good theory. Yeah, these interlopers certainly are interrupting going through the series here. It's taking us a long time.
Yeah.
Once you finish all the Mr. Men Doctor Who books, perhaps you could tackle T is for TARDIS. Keep up the great work from Shaggy Matthews of the Fire and Water Podcast Network. Thank you for the email, Shaggy. Wonderful stuff.
Yeah, thanks.
And then we have another email or a message here. And Elijah, maybe you could read that one?
Sure. We've also heard from Jason Tucker, founder of Console Room, from Twitter, where he thanks us for another brilliant episode of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. He says, time really flew by since the last episode.
Well, thank you, Jason and Shaggy, for sending those messages in.
Thank you.
All right, well, wrapping up the pod here, we have to choose our next episode in the Mr. Men series. And, you know, I was looking at the choices, and I couldn't resist choosing one of my favorites, the newest Doctor who just left us, and that's the 13th Doctor, played by Jodie Whittaker. So next time we're going to be reading Doctor 13th.
Nice choice.
All right. Thanks for joining me, Elijah.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt.
Well, until next time, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Elijah in Minnesota.
Happy reading.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song, Doctor Who theme, swing jazz version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
London! What a dump.
London's okay.
No, it's not. It's a dump.
You spend an awful lot of time here, considering it's a dump.
I spent an awful lot of time being kidnapped, tortured, shot at, exterminated. Doesn't mean I like it.